Previously, we discussed language acquisition, language learning, and the impact of first language acquisition on deaf children. To recap, sign language is imperative for children to learn spoken language. So today, we will discuss the bilingual framework and review a Canadian case study that has implemented a bilingual framework. The bilingual framework is made of 4 parts: language, culture, learning, and self-esteem, or identity. Language is about focusing on American Sign Language so students can develop their skills in their natural language. From there, students can study, learn, and master the English language through ASL. As previously discussed, second language learning depends on first language acquisition. Deaf students need to have mastery over ASL so they can reach fluency in English. Another part of the framework is culture. Culture and language go hand in hand. Thus, as well as learning ASL, deaf students need to know about deaf culture. Learning about deaf culture includes learning about deaf history, deaf literature, and more. Students are still required to learn national and state-mandated curriculum, so deaf students also learn about U.S. culture, history, and literature. A third component of the framework is developing students to become self-confident and active learners. Many students do not like learning. However, it is important to learn how to be a learner. Therefore, the framework outlines making students into creative problem solvers, increasing students' bodies of knowledge, and holding students to a high standard, all through enjoyable learning experiences created by the teacher. The last component of the framework is self-esteem and identity. Deaf students need a positive sense of self. Deaf people live in a world where they experience discrimination on a regular. Deaf students need to learn how to have a positive self-identity to cope with the unavoidable experience of discrimination. Teachers can do this through lessons about self-expression and allowing students to explore their interests. So what happens when a bilingual framework is introduced? Well, in 1988 in Canada, a deaf program shifted to a bilingual approach. Before the change in 1988, 70% of the deaf students who attended the program were experiencing a language delay. 4 years later, after implanting a bilingual program, in 1992, language delay dropped to 20%, meaning instead of 30% of students being on track for language development, now 80% were on track.